Hello, everybody out there. I am Jennifer Hughes, and I am here with a colleague of mine from Demandbase, Lochlan Dougherty. And Lochlan, and while we're kind of waiting for people to join in, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Nice to see everybody here. My name is Lochlan Dougherty. I am a growth account director for our ad cloud team here at Demandbase, and I primarily help lead client strategy.
Great. And as I said, I'm Jennifer, and I'm the Director of Digital Success here at Demandbase. For most of my time here, I ran up the digital, our digital campaigns, and so now I've kind of transitioned more to client facing and helping our customers find the same successes. So we're really excited to be here with you guys today. What we're going to be discussing is something that is on every marketer's mind all the time, which is what are the right metrics, right? So for us, what are the right B2B advertising metrics? How can we know that we're, gauging performance and measuring success of both of on the campaign level and the programs in general, not just to be able to effectively report on our efforts, but also to continue to improve on those as well by measuring. You cannot improve what you cannot measure and all that. So hopefully this will be a great discussion topic for all of us, and I think we could probably go ahead and kick it off. Yeah. So the way that we're going to do this is Lochlan and I are lucky enough to get to talk to a lot of our clients all the time. And so we end up hearing certain questions, right, over and over again about the best ways to measure advertising. And so we thought we would just pick the top 5 of those and just discuss it. And obviously throw your questions in the chat. We'd love to hear from you on any thoughts or questions you have. And so, not surprisingly, the number one question that we hear is, what are the key metrics? What are the metrics we're supposed to be tracking for, an account-based marketing approach?
Yeah, it's a great question.
Go ahead, Lochlan.
It's definitely a great question. It's something that all of our customers have traditionally asked us. And I think one of the biggest challenges here is shifting from your traditional view of advertising metrics, clicks, impressions, and conversions, and that contact level focus to more of an account-based metric solution. So this will give you a better sense of how you can assess program impact. And clicks, impressions, conversions, those are all important factors, and they can definitely be weighed in that measurement cycle, but impact should really be measured more holistically at the audience level. And that will drill down to the individual accounts as well. And you can get into contact details down the road. But I think when we're discussing this at a campaign level from an ABX or an ABM approach, there's a few key metrics that you want to focus on. Those will primarily be reached, visited, clicked, and another metric called interaction. So reaching accounts, obviously important. Are we getting impressions in front of the accounts that are part of our target audience list and the ones that we care about most? Are they actually visiting your site? Are they engaging with banners? And are they actually interacting? So are we getting multiple unique user sessions from those accounts, which can show that we're getting multi-threaded into the account? And I think clicks will typically be a lower metric or a lower priority metric in B2B because we typically see less, but they can still speak volumes in terms of, is messaging resonating with an account? Now, outside of just advertising, I think when we're assessing overall marketing program impact, there are a few other key metrics that I'd like Jennifer to highlight.
Yeah. So you want to be looking at what we consider the kind of core ABM metrics beyond the campaign level ones that Lochlan just covered would be, engagement, and in the sense of not just increased engagement from accounts, but what net new accounts are we bringing to the website with our efforts. And then you also want to think about velocity, right? So basically, are we able to not just bring the accounts into the pipeline and start pushing them through, but also are we able to do it at a faster rate? So that's velocity and kind of that conversion, right? The forward progression through the funnel or through the buyer's journey for our target accounts is going to be a way to sort of step back and measure the overall program impact of some of those advertising programs.
Yeah, totally. And I think one key metric that is true across the entire funnel is going to be lift. Really just our accounts actually increasing in their amount of engagement across their entire buyer cycle and even beyond when we talk about customer life cycle. I think finally, the key metrics that every marketer cares about are going to be pipeline and revenue generation against those target accounts that you're actually spending marketing dollars on. And that can be aided a lot with creating control audiences and ways that you can more efficiently measure the impact of your programs and really understand what influence you're driving against your target market.
Thank you. I can't believe I didn't mention lift already. Like that's my favorite. That's like the metric that all the marketers have been trying to triangulate for years. So thank you for remembering to put that one out there. That's one of the most important ones.
Yeah, of course.
So question number 2, and they're all sort of related, obviously, but now that the question that we hear a lot is, but how do you kind of decide on the goals of your campaigns, of your advertising campaigns across the entire sales cycle? Since display advertising and other digital advertising efforts traditionally in the past were thought of as a top of funnel channel, right? And now happily are being really effectively used across the entire buyer's journey. So because of that, we want to make sure that we're, you don't want to ask something of a campaign in terms of goals that it's not meant to do. So, how does that look in terms of measurement kind of across the funnel?
Yeah, it's a big challenge for a lot of organizations when they approach from an ABM perspective. And I think one of the key things to think about here is your segmentation strategy and understanding how you can align accounts with where they actually sit in their buyer's journey outside of simple segmentation like industry, revenue, or different kind of criteria like that typically sit on the firmographic level. It's really understanding, are they ready to buy? So I think when you think about aligning your KPIs for campaigns, it's from a top, middle, and even bottom funnel approach, and it will go beyond that to customer. But you can think about some key KPIs for each of those funnel segments. Thinking about top of funnel, are we reaching accounts? Are they actually lifting in their engagement? Are they coming to the site with increased frequency? Or are they coming to the site for the first time ever? Middle of funnel, you can start to speak to a higher value piece of content, or maybe some different metrics like account conversion. So we talked about that down funnel progression to MQA, for instance. Are accounts visiting high value landing pages? And this goes outside of just advertising in your display channels. When we think about social and lead gen channels, are we creating a higher quality of lead, and are we seeing a higher quality conversion of MQL to SQL? And I think while we think about account-based marketing, leads are a separate segment. There's still something that comes to play in almost all marketing capacity.
Yeah, I mean, as we love to be account-based marketing, but even we at Demandbase know that at some point you're going to want to reach out to somebody, largely anonymous. Parts of the buyer's journey do eventually require reaching out to somebody, but even when kind of measuring efforts to multi-thread or get net new contacts, you can still sort of measure that with an account-based lens on, right? You can say, hey, of the leads coming in, let's look, kind of like you said before, let's look at the quality of the leads in terms of, are they, one of the personas we know is making decisions, and are they from one of our target accounts? And not just that, but are there more leads coming into this account? So it's, we're not going to ever say you don't think about leads, obviously, but you just always want to kind of, when you're measuring it, wear those account-based glasses.
Yeah, 100%. And I think even outside of middle funnel lead, the lead can come into play at any point in the funnel. But when we're going back to aligning KPIs with where accounts are, understanding bottom of funnel plays and KPIs there, I think pipeline creation and acceleration are typically 2 key metrics that you want to focus on. And this can open the door for you to assess different metrics like the time to close in your deal cycles against advertising groups versus control audience, as well as, are we closing more of the pipeline that we're generating in our advertising groups versus those control audience? And I think those control segments can paint a great picture of where you're actually providing impact. Now, I don't think it's, go ahead.
I was going to say, this is kind of, traditionally when marketing would have done the handoff, right? Oh, they're in an opportunity, take it away sales. And happily we don't. But that also extends obviously into the customer life cycle, which becomes almost its whole own funnel, right? So with the overall goal of just driving your customer success. So how do you measure, the impact of advertising programs targeting your customers? And it's the same approach. You're tying it to your campaign goals, right? So if you know that customers engaging with you will mean that better use of the tool or your solution, and that's going to mean a higher rate of renewals. So it's just sort of the same approach, which is this campaign is to find customers that we see are not engaging and get them to engage. Well, then engagement is the metric, right? And then on through expansion opportunities and cross sell, upsell. It's still that same approach that Lochlan was just laying out in terms of just making sure that the campaign goals aligning to the metrics you're using.
100%. And I think one of the key things about aligning your KPIs with your funnel is understanding where there might be lag in your funnel or there might be stagnation. So understanding that if you're aligned with these types of metrics like velocity and stage conversion, it can identify where gaps in your strategies may exist. So you can really start to understand, am I having a particular buildup in one area of the funnel and we're not moving the needle? What's the next thing that needs to come into play? And I think from a performance perspective and just from building out bandwidth for your team, adopting something like an always on strategy within this funnel strategy that we're discussing can really help open the door for you to start exploring new strategies rather than trying to reiterate a strategy that really isn't providing those fruitful results. So I think it's definitely key. And it's when we talk about our next topic, which is going to be sales and marketing alignment, this is going to come into play in the full fold. And with that, honestly, sales and marketing alignment is something that a lot of teams struggle with. Get lists from sales, they're not understanding what your target accounts should be or why they should be. But I'm curious, Jennifer, from your perspective, in terms of launching campaigns at Demandbase, how do you measure what sales really wants to know?
It's a great question, and I'm sure a lot of people are able to relate to that. We are lucky here, right, that we sell sales and marketing solutions, so there's a very organic, natural alignment. But I think what's really important is sales, when you're using the language that you is best to talk to sales. It's not gonna. I mean, they don't care about impressions and clicks, nor should they, frankly, right? They're gonna care about pipeline, period, right? They're gonna say, are you able to bring those accounts in and serve them up to us so that when we see marketing qualified, we can trust that. And we also have insights around what to do with those accounts and how to prioritize. And they're also going to so that's around kind of the quality and volume of the pipeline that we're continuing to just push those accounts into and through. And then, as I mentioned before, velocity is a really big one at the end of the day, right? Are we able to sell faster? Are they in some of these stages for a shorter amount of time because our advertising efforts are accelerating their conversion to forward stages? So that's generally the kind of things I like to serve up to sales to show them.
Yeah, that was all great. And I think from my perspective, I spent some time here as an SDR, and we're primarily an outbound business where we're doing our own prospecting. And I think leveraging insights that we were gaining from accounts that we were activating on was huge. So thinking about how I can establish prioritization of my outreach for the week or how I'm going to prospect into. And in that sense, I can basically leverage things like journey transitions or funnel stage velocity to understand our accounts moving closer to opportunity. Those are the accounts that I should be prioritizing during my week or providing a more personalized touch to. It was ways that I could adopt the insights that we were getting from Demandbase's tool itself to say, where are accounts spending their time? Are they trending for specific keywords? And that would all be built into my prospecting and my outreach, both in the ways that I was shaping my emails and calls to clients, or the ways that I was looking to identify new contacts that I could bring into our system and further the process, essentially. So really, there's tons of powerful insights that you can gain at the account level, but it's about using those insights essentially to your advantage to find the right person within those accounts if we're not reliant on an inbound strategy, especially when outbound is so powerful in moving the needle for your organization. And I think there's a lot of ways you can action on those insights. And really, it's about making metrics from the marketing side more actionable for sales. And I think that's definitely a challenge that a lot of teams face, because they get pushback from sales and they're saying, you're not giving me names. How am I actually going to identify who's on the buying committee, and is this account actually interested? So I'd love to hear again from your perspective, Jennifer, how you make metrics more actionable from the marketing side.
Yeah, this is also a huge question. So because I mean the point is you're not just looking at the metrics for the reporting purposes, right? You want to be able to take the insights and serve them up, use them both for marketing efforts, obviously, like the next best marketing effort. But the sales thing can be just hugely critical and a big indicator of success and a factor in that alignment we were talking about. So one example that jumps to mind is content syndication, which can be a bit of an Achilles heel sometimes because, because they're likely downloading via, a third-party email or a third-party website. There can be some hesitation in terms of the reps reaching out, and have they been to our website, right? But also in terms of measuring the campaigns around content syndication, you want to measure it a slightly different standard, because again, we don't know that they have even been to our website. So one thing, kind of an example of ways to make that marketing actionable and sales actionable is, if you have a bunch of content syndication leads coming in, you can target the set of accounts where those leads have come in, right? As an engagement campaign. You don't need them to fill out a form. You know who they are. You just need them to come to your website and start engaging with your actual website instead of the third-party site. And what's great about that is, that's kind of the marketing actionable way to use that and better be able to measure the quality of the content syndication programs and leads. Are these leads coming in through these programs able to be re-engaged? Were they, the right people? And then in terms of sales actionable, you can imagine creating a report, right, for the reps that says, hey, content syndication is no longer just a bunch of siloed leads. Let's take an account-based view, right? So for instance, here's the accounts in your region that that at least 3 or more people have come in as content syndication leads in the last month. That is like a data point. It becomes its own data point, right? And then it can also improve the outreach of the rep to know that, there's several people coming in through content syndication, but they're downloading the same type of asset, the same content, and so this is just kind of an example of being able to measure something that used to just be raw number of leads and say, but where does it go from there? Can we re-engage? Is the outreach successful?
Yeah, absolutely. I think when we think about some of the metrics we covered today, accounts reached, visited, accounts that are lifting, ones that are coming to the site, there's a ton of use cases that can be developed just purely on those advertising insights that you're driving from your programs. Thinking about things like retargeting campaigns and understanding, are accounts spending a significant amount of time on high value pages? Maybe there's a specific product that they're interested in. What it allows you to do, especially with a tool like Demandbase, but even with other channels, is create dynamic segments. So understanding, using buying insights or buyers insights to actually drive them into campaigns and allowing them to guide their own flow, as opposed to bucketing them into a specific audience or a specific segment just because you think they're a good fit. And I think when we think about retargeting, especially at the account level, it's a really powerful tool. And just like you mentioned, when accounts are coming to form fill sites or they're approaching a high value page, you can create retargeting segments and focus on those accounts, saying maybe we have 100 accounts that have come to a page with a form on it that have not engaged with the form. Let's continue to retarget and generate additional interest in those accounts. Try to get to new users who may be interested in taking that next step or that additional action. Now, it doesn't stop with just retargeting. Obviously, if we're using tools like intent or data insights like intent, you can start to align different criteria from an intent perspective with different areas of the funnel. And when we talked about that funnel strategy, top, middle, bottom funnel, using insights and metrics that you're gaining in terms of volumes of intent or time on site, you can essentially use those to guide the messaging for your customers or your prospects. So bottom funnel is one of the most common plays we see. This is using insights like competitive intent and metrics about time they're spending basically researching your competitors and ensuring that we're getting ahead of that and getting messaging in front of those businesses while they may be engaged in an additional sales cycle while also talking to us. So just a couple of ideas thrown around, but there's tons of ways that you can leverage data and different insights from your existing campaigns to take additional actions and create those flows.
One thing we are not short on is use cases.
Yeah.
Lochlan and I could go on. We have about 1,000 use cases for everything. So
yeah. They never end, really, but it's great because you can consistently develop them, especially the more insights you're gaining from every account, the more opportunity you have to expand on the use cases that you're already leveraging or that you haven't been leveraging. Awesome. Well, that being said, I think one common challenge that we know marketers are facing now is the economy. Budgets are definitely getting cut down, trimmed down. So I think one of the biggest things is how do you actually highlight how you're affecting the bottom line of the business and continue to invest in marketing programs?
Yeah, we're probably all sick of talking about it and thinking about it, but we can't not mention it because, it's sort of like doing more with less. Used to be kind of like a gravy, right? Oh, that's sort of an aspirational goal. That'd be really nice to have to be able to hone in and optimize. But now that optimization is necessary. It is an absolute necessity, right? For not just for effective advertising, but to also show, make your business case for your programs. And all the digital marketers out there know very well that digital marketing programs usually feel the sting of budget cuts first and often most dramatically, right? And in particular, the always on or brand awareness efforts can be the first on the chopping block. And what Lochlan, I know you've seen this too, what we so often see is that it's often after the cuts are made that the true value of those always on campaigns are suddenly in very clear focus, right? Because the drop off of the engagement, the just really significant engagement from target account lists across the entire buyer's journey is immediate and obvious. But also, as marketers know, it can be, once you lose some of your budget, it can be hard to get it back, right? So that is this kind of crucial, okay, well, I have less now. How do I make that dollar go farther? And that's when the measuring is so critical. What's working best, granularly to what campaign, what creative is performing best, but then all the way across the programs in general, what's pushing things through the pipeline and bringing influence and things like that.
Yeah. I think you kind of leaned on it a little bit in there, but I think display also tends to suffer a bit when you talk about budget cuts. And really, I think one of the more powerful aspects of display is the halo effect that it really creates against all of your programs. So understanding there is impact driven, while display may be a channel that's very difficult to provide one single source of attribution or truth for, I think understanding how that is impacting your additional programs and the weight that it can provide in terms of that brand awareness play is huge. I think you mentioned a little bit, but when companies are really cutting costs, I think brand investment is often the number one thing that's getting cut from the table. And because it's really hard to measure, it's typically very undervalued. So unfortunately, this is really one of the opposite things of what should be done. And really, in recent studies, we've seen that consistent branding can increase revenue by up to 33%. So it's something that really should be leveraged throughout any budget cut and understanding the weight it can play as a whole to your entire marketing initiative.
Yeah, I think that's actually really important because there's things that digital marketers in particular, but marketers kind of intuitively know, right? That for your example is perfect, like display advertising, even if they're not clicking on an actual ad, makes a difference, right? They may be more likely to open an email from you later or put your name into the search bar or, click on one of your other ads across another digital channel, a social channel or paid search. And so we've always known that, we've suspected it, but that's why kind of some of the stuff that we've been talking about today, hopefully can provide the data to back that up. And so that's that lift metric. And, just sort of some of the other stuff, especially as Lochlan said, creating those control groups and doing some A/B testing to really prove that out. We have done that here, and obviously we do see that display advertising makes a incredibly significant difference. But hopefully we have been able to, give you guys some ideas or tips or tricks on, how to measure your B2B advertising. And obviously, you can reach out to us at Demandbase anytime if you have any follow-up questions or thoughts or concerns. But I think we're just about coming to time. So it's probably the time to wrap. Lochlan and I could go on and on forever, as many of our colleagues can attest to. But we can bring it to a close there, and say we've really enjoyed getting to discuss.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure. Thanks, everybody.
Yep.